Hey guys, Zibboyeye or just Zib is fine, and today we're looking at an adult cartoon. Well, I have some reservations about referring to it as an adult cartoon since the phrase adult movie evokes the idea of porn, while adult cartoon makes you think of American Dad. Ah, you thought I was gonna say that other show, didn't ya? Inspired by a curiosity in her cat's psyche, Cleo Duvall began postulating, what if animals had counseling? Duvall presented her concept to Jennifer Crittenden and Gabrielle Allen, who helped flesh out her idea. Around early 2019, Fox picked up the show known as Therapy Dog, later to be named HouseBroken. And with that, therapy's in session, so let's sit back and look at HouseBroken. The series follows Honey, a poodle who heads a counseling group made up of fellow pets. Each pet vents their own issues to Honey for help, although Honey often needs more help than she's willing to admit to the group. From there, the pets wade through their own conflict to its resolution. Fair warning, the premiere does not put the show's best foot forward. The first episode, Who's a Good Girl, does not represent the series. The characters display little beyond archetypes, while the humor is more sexual than later episodes.
Who could benefit from some therapy, but also not scoot on Jill's rug?
You wanna get in on this?
But the episode accounts for less than 10% of the season, so I won't dwell on it any further. In other words, don't let the first episode discourage you, cause it's all uphill from there, starting with the characters. The protagonist, Honey, is a sarcastic and psychologically insightful poodle. By her side is her husband, Chief, a Saint Bernard with a vacant headspace but full heart. The smart wife, daft husband might not be a new pair, but I found their relationship so charming. I also love Elsa, an ambitious corgi who has a friendly rivalry with Honey.
I'm Elsa, service dog, thank you, and I'm kind of the unofficial co-leader of the group.
She's not!
Nope.
In fact, I think her voice actor / creator, Cleo Duvall, said it best.
She's like obsessed with Honey and is also very competitive with Honey. So she's trying to replace her and be her all at the same time.
She's a character providing both friction and companionship to Honey. I enjoyed their unique relationship. Another character I feel compelled to note is Chico, an oblivious upbeat chonker of a cat. Part of his notoriety stems from the show's divulgation of his female genitalia. He is a trans man.
We're witnessing the miracle of mammalian birth.
Well, it must be a misunderstanding. Let's ask this guy.
Mom?
Don't worry, little guy. We'll find her.
The show handled Chico's transgender reveal with casual tact. None of the characters bring attention to Chico's gender in this scene. It respected my intelligence as a viewer. I don't need to be told overtly Chico is trans, I can put two and two together. Beyond that, the cast's lack of shock towards Chico's gender indicates their awareness of this fact before the audience. Their knowledge of each other this illustrates makes the group feel tight-knit. My favorite character though is Tabitha. I've had a predilection for posh characters for years and Tabitha is no exception. Not to mention her dialogue is priceless.
I'm sorry, I can't focus when Honey's haircut reminds me of every mistake I ever make. Why are we not talking about it?
Overall, Sans Bubbles, who just provides drive-by sex jokes, and giving Diablo Max and Grey One honorable mentions, I was able to enjoy all the characters. Even the characters who I wasn't so crazy about got expanded later on. I wasn't so fond of Shell at first. Most of his initial jokes just reference his intimacy with a shoe. But I found his dialogue more humorous later in the season.
All right, you should know I don't condone violence, but I am aroused by it, so do your worst.
Episode 8, Who Are You?, almost exists to prove characters' potential. In the A-plot, Max questions his identity, realizing he was a replacement pig for George Clooney's original pet Max, who actually existed. I didn't know about that before the show. The original pet Max, not George Clooney. I knew he existed. Meanwhile, in B-plot, seeking to disprove the sociopathic behavior she was sanctioned for in therapy, Nibbles tries to save a rat from the belly of a snake. Prior to this, Max and Nibbles were primarily used for comedic interjections. Yet, in Who Are You?, they're on the forefront of their own conflict. It convinced me that even those who had seemed like minor characters had potential for more. This leads me to what I consider one of the show's specialties. The show has a knack for creating three-dimensional characters. Diablo is a prime example of this. Diablo's personality can range from timid and insecure,
And just before I make a decision, I become paralyzed. Am I making the right choice, or is there something better around the corner?
to this.
I barked at a tree all night, I humped a loaf of bread, and I can eat candy whenever I want.
The situations the characters find themselves in breed a variety of responses that display their multi-sided personality. The show skillfully fleshes out its cast. I eagerly await seeing more of them in future episodes. The humor is equally a minutiae in HouseBroken's fingerprint. The jokes don't shy away from absurdity. The punchlines walk the edge of left field and run with it for maximum impact.
The power of Christ compels you! Get it off! Help!
The show peeks into characters' fantasies for laughs on several occasions.
Move out! This is for all the pets who died before we could live forever!
These over-the-top sequences were entertaining and reminded me of the likes of Littlest Pet Shop 2012. Okay, I don't know how I ended up mentioning LPS 2012 in 2 out of 3 of my cartoon reviews so far. I don't want to review it. It just keeps popping up somehow. Okay, HouseBroken. We're talking about HouseBroken. The introspective look into the psyche of these animals was not only humorous, but thematically cohesive with the premise. That leaves us with HouseBroken's stories, regarding which there's an abundance to speak. The episodes are often trisected, split into 3 plots. I was surprised how well the show managed 3 well-paced plots in a single episode. Structurally, it reminded me a bit of Seinfeld, which is another sitcom I enjoy. The conflicts the episodes center around grasped me as well. Many of the conflicts are exclusive to pets. I will use episode 5, Who's Afraid of Boomsday, to illustrate my meaning. In this episode, Elsa has an identity crisis as she learns she is not a real service dog.
You're wearing stolen valor!
The vest she had been given is no more than a ploy for her owner to bring Elsa wherever she goes. This is a plot difficult to translate to a human equivalent. The conflicts the show follows necessitates and validates the premise. The turns the episodes take with their plot is phenomenal as well. The plot points are super subversive. I adore how Grey One's cat lady owned home is built up as ruthless and tough as nails, only for his fellow inhabitants to perform musical theater in a later episode.
I'm Grumple-Rump, known as the Warm Wet One.
We're Conjoined B. Jones, we're the Duet One.
I could not predict many of HouseBroken's curveballs. The show is really good at keeping me on my toes. But I hold most reverence towards HouseBroken's mature themes. I have to highlight Honey's relationship with Big Cookie. The series starts after Honey's neighbor and friend Big Cookie has passed away. How the first episode addressed this was my favorite part of the premiere. The moment Honey has to watch Big Cookie's burial was impactful, especially given that she could only watch from afar. It was a compelling and unique way for Honey to come to terms with her friend's death. The impact Big Cookie's death had on Honey is revisited in Who's Afraid of Boomsday. In this episode, Honey meets Lil Bunny, an Afghan hound whose playfulness reminds Honey of Big Cookie. Yet when Honey needs help finding Chief by the end of the episode, Lil Bunny declines. The psychology of Honey in this episode is intricate. Wanting to recapture her past relationship with her friend, she imprints the idea of Big Cookie onto Lil Bunny. But Honey finds the Afghan hound cannot be Big Cookie and has to accept that the relationship she had with Big Cookie was as unique as Big Cookie herself. The themes the episodes covered made me reflect. I praise the writing's intelligence. There remains but one aspect of HouseBroken's story I've yet to address, and that is the overarching plot. The episodes utilize a medial knowledge of the show's continuity. References and developments to the story arc are not uncommon. The main arc of Season 1 follows Honey, tempted to leave her home and Chief for the wild life with a sexy coyote, later named Armando. The conflict is good. It challenges a key trait of Honey's character, her loyalty. However, that's the only compliment I give to the coyote plot. For most of the season, Honey is given scarce need for Armando. She receives love from Chief at home. Beyond that, she's not shown to be bored of domestic life to desire a taste of the wild side. Without something Honey lacks, her desire for Armando is unconvincing. The show almost rectifies this in episode 4, Who's a Good Therapist. In this episode, Honey questions her relationship with Chief, having been wed in an arranged marriage. This is common for her species. 2 dogs unknown to each other are married when they are made pets under the same household. However, that makes sense. The structure of a household for dogs holds no obligations reflecting that of a human marriage. So it's not marriage on the basis of responsibilities, but it's arranged, so it's not marriage on the basis of romance either. So what makes it marriage? I would say the basis of the arranged marriage is confusing if it had a basis at all. But if there's one impact this plot point has, it's giving Honey something to yearn for. Honey lacked autonomy when wedding Chief. Now Armando gives her a chance to make the choice. However, by the end, Honey and Chief forfeit their misgivings. Their arranged marriage is never mentioned thenceforth in the season. Once Honey lacks something, instigating a want, the episode resolves it by the end. This happens once more in episode 7, aka Who's Going to the Vet. By the end of the episode, Armando visits Honey, engaging in inquiries about her therapy.
Is there such a thing as objective morality? Oh, sorry. Is that not the kind of thing you talk about?
This scene is a big development. Armando displays an intelligence Chief can't provide. With this, the stakes are raised as Honey is given a reason to desire Armando over Chief. However, come next scene, Honey returns inside to tell Chief,
I mean, maybe we're not perfect, but we're good.
The sense of doubt in their relationship lasts only 2 minutes before Honey admits Chief is the one for her. If Honey had shown uncertainty in her marriage by the end of any episode, it would have lent credence to the possibility of Honey fleeing with Armando. However, such an opportunity is declined. This represents my biggest point of contention with the Coyote plot. Any attempt to build the dramatic question, who will Honey spend the rest of her life with, is undermined soon after. The episode's conclusions oppose the direction of the story arc. The Coyote plot wants Honey to stay around the middle between her attraction to Chief and attraction to Armando. However, the episodes end reverting Honey's affection back to Chief. As you can see, the episode's conclusions are at odds with the overall plot. The episode's conclusions are structured to the benefit of a slice of life show, reverting back to where we began with Honey loving Chief. But in doing so, it fails to build Honey's indecision necessary for the arc. Honey's arc is sadly inflicted with several flaws. The lack of a want for Armando to offer Honey and developments against the dramatic question result in an unengaging and awkwardly prolonged story arc. Complicating this matter is the writer's competency for overarching plots displayed in the show's other arc. In this arc, Tabitha's owners get a new kitten to whom they give all their attention to. Feeling like she's been replaced, Tabitha runs away, hoping to find a home she feels welcome in. The plot has a strong basis. Tabitha has a clear want that stems from what she lacks. Tabitha lacks attention, thus she wants attention. The story is more active too. Each place Tabitha resides in and departs from progresses the plot as she comes closer to finding her new home. The episodes are structured in favor of this episodic continuous hybrid. Reverting back to Tabitha in need of a home does not contradict past developments while also moving the plot. Tabitha's plots function both individually while contributing to her arc. What Honey's arc lacks, Tabitha's offers, and I loved every second of it. Lastly, I'll cover the season finale up until around this time, so this is the last call if you want to head in spoiler free. Alright? Let's go then. The two-parter Who's a Bad Girl starts with Honey's neighbors getting a puppy they name Lil Cookie to take after their past Big Cookie. Wait a minute, if Lil Cookie's the successor to Big Cookie, then does that mean Lil Bunny? However, Lil Cookie seems to bond more with Chief, finding Honey to be a bother. Wanting to be appreciated, Honey runs off with Armando, leading into part 2. Finally, Honey is given a solid want for Armando to provide. This alone makes me more invested in Honey's emotions towards Armando. Not only that, but I love Lil Cookie's involvement. Stemming from Big Cookie's death, the season finale uses the same point of attack as the season premiere, creating this great sense of unity. Many of the characters are utilized, having subplots of their own. In fact, Max's new owner, Ray Liotta, is planning to kill Max by the end. This loose end makes me excited to see where season 2 goes from there. Shell does not do much during the finale, but he suffers a great injury. Putting Shell in a pain state so he exerts more effort was a clever way of making him seem like he does more than he actually contributes to the climax. Overall, most of all of the characters were notable in the finale. The developments are subversive as usual and the humor is at a breakneck pace.
Feel like I'm just holding your hand now.
Hey, you seen Honey? We were supposed to meet for group tonight. Ah, what the hell, Chach?
So much happens in this episode, it hardly felt like 10 minutes, let alone 20. The conclusion satisfied me as well. It ends on Honey introducing the concept of counseling to the coyotes, allowing the pets to make their escape during the coyotes' resulting quarrel. It imparted another sense of wholeness to the season finale to end utilizing the show's core premise. Saving the day with Honey's intelligence and desire to help others was rewarding as well. HouseBroken is a show I admire in many ways. Although its main overarching plot only spurred my interest at the end, my issues with it do little to deter my affinity for the show. Tabitha's plot gripped me from the start, and the characters were diverse, developing, and dynamic in their engagingly entertaining and intelligent plots. From its characters to its story, HouseBroken will stick with me, and I'll stick with it in Season 2. I've been Zibboyeye, or just Zib is fine, and thank you for watching. Zibbo bye bye!